In this video tutorial, we are going to learn how to montage several images together. We're going to use Photoshop as the tool for working with our images, and we're going to create a little scene in which the Hulk is choosing Facebook. I'm going to start off with an image of some social media icons. So this is on today's lesson, and we can right click and copy the image there. Then switch to Photoshop. File, New, should pick up the dimensions of the image that we've just copied. Click on OK, and then Edit and Paste to place that image on our scene. So what we're going to do, first of all, we don't really need this white background, so I'm going to come over to the Layers drop down and choose Flatten Image. So we now have a single layer to work with. Now we're going to make an adjustment to this layer so that only Facebook really stands out. And all of these are quite vibrant at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an adjustment layer, and I'm going to apply a brightness contrast. So brightness contrast changes how strong the colours are and how they contrast with each other. And I'm going to take the brightness down quite a lot, and also the contrast quite a bit as well. So it's a lot duller than it was before. Now, that's affected everything, and obviously we want Facebook to stand out here. So I'm going to highlight the Facebook and remove it from the mask. So you can see that this is all white at the moment, this mask that's been applied. What I'm going to do, it'd be difficult to pick out this Facebook icon with standard tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool lets me click and draw straight lines. But as I go into high contrast areas, it will try to match up to the edges. So it's doing the tracing here. I'm just moving my mouse carefully along the edge, and it's dropping points. And it's got it a little bit wrong there. And if I click back to the start, you can see what it's highlighted. And that should be quite easy to now tidy up. So I'm going to come back here, back to the lasso tool, and I'm going to use the Alt key to then remove this additional part of the keyboard here. And a little bit more, and that is quite a good fit for the Facebook key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush tool here, and I'm now going to use black to remove parts of this key from the mask. So the brightness contrast is applied to the whole picture, but I'm removing the bit that I've got highlighted here. And it could take me a long time with this tiny little brush, and I'll maybe get bits missing and get it wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I am going to ramp this brush size up. And then that's much quicker for me to then apply to the image. And so you can see now that, and I can go to select and deselect. I then have one key standing out from all the others on this social media keyboard. So what I want now is I'm going to bring in a finger to point and click on that key. So I could go to the internet and have a look. You can see here I've already had a look for pointing finger. And there's obviously a large number of different options for pointing fingers. I want one that's pointing down onto a key. One of the things that can help is if we go and look at colour. So I've chosen Tools, and I've looked for Transparent. And what that means is we won't have to remove the background when we actually select our pointing finger. However, be aware that quite often these supposedly transparent backgrounds are actually JPEGs of a background, and therefore have a checkerboard on them rather than being invisible. So just watch out for that. To make things a little bit easier, I have actually created this. So if you can't find a suitable hand, then this one will do. I'm going to right click on that and copy image. And then I'm coming back to Photoshop and I'm going to go edit and paste. Now that's actually come in at a fairly reasonable size, and notice it's come in as layer 1 here. So the background is our keyboard. We've applied an adjustment to that, and then layer 1 is a separate layer. And if I click on the pointer tool, I can then go into editing mode, and I'm going to go to edit and free transform. And this has put a bounding box around my hand. I can make it a bit fatter. I just want this to be the Hulk's hand, the Marvel Hulk hero. So Hulk, very, very fat hand because he's super strong. So I'm going to do that. If I move outside the edge, so at the edge, I've got a drag handle to change the size. If I move beyond the edge, it changes into a little curve, and I can rotate this into place. And I can also move it and drag it over here, and I want to drag it really until I don't have any finger or any hand missing there. So around about there is looking good. When I'm happy with its position and its rotation, I click on the tick up here, and that sets that in place. And now what I want to do is to remove this white background. So I'm going to go to the Magic Wand tool. Magic Wand tool is going to pick up things, so you'll see that if I pick up here on the knuckle, it's picked up a lot of things that are quite pink. I can change the tolerance here. If I change the tolerance up to say 50, and then click here, it picks up pretty much most of the hand. If I take the tolerance down to something like 10, and click back on this same knuckle, then it only picks up a very small area. So it's about how close to the shade things are. This is all pure white, so it's easily picked that up. Shift key, and here we'll pick up the rest the other side that isn't connected to it. And there's a bit of white down the side here, so shift key again, and pick up that part as well. And I'm simply just going to press the delete key on my keyboard to remove all of that. Go to select, deselect, and that's looking reasonably good. There's a few little white stray parts that I could perhaps remove, but I'm quite happy with them at the moment. So, what I now want to do is to turn this into the Hulk's hand. And I'm going to do that by applying an adjustment, just as we did for the keyboard here. Different adjustment this time. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to just click in this open area. And you see what it's done is pick up everything except the hand. And now I'm going to go to select, inverse, and now it's got just the hand. So I'm going to come to adjustments, and I'm going to apply a hue saturation. I could try a color balance here and see if I can make this more green than pink, but I think it's probably going to be easiest with a hue saturation. And what I can do is I can change, you see I've got a purple hand, a blue hand. Basically, if I want to have a green hand, I move it into the colour that's opposite green, which is down here around about pinky purple. So somewhere around about there. I then want to ramp up the saturation to make it very green, and I possibly want to take the lightness down so I can get some of the detail back somewhere around about there. So that's my adjustment. It's looking a little bit on the bright side. So I'm also going to apply another adjustment. I'm going to apply something called levels here. And what levels does is it kind of stretches the colours. It makes the blackest thing black and the whitest thing white and spreads everything in between. So you can see that as I do this, it's making that hand much more detailed. And I can adjust the grey sliders to how close it goes in either direction. Now the problem is it's applying to everything including the keyboard below it. So what I need to do is to click on this little dark circle over a white circle here, and that clips it to the layer below. So now it's only applying to the hand. And there we have our Hulk hand pointing at a Facebook icon. And the last thing I'm going to do is just to put in some text. So I'm going to come down to the text tool, and I'm going to highlight and drag an area here. And I'm going to say Hulk like Facebook. Hulk, that's the way Hulk generally talks. And I'm going to take the size of that. Instead of 72, I'm maybe going to try about 90. That's looking okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take the colour and make it a nice dark green. And I'm also going to take this here, this T with a little bend shape below it, and that lets me style the text a little bit like word art in Microsoft Word. So I could make this into an arc, and obviously I'll have to drag it down a bit if I'm going to put that there. I could maybe make it like an arch. So there's various different shapes we can use here, and I think I'll settle on a shell upper. And I click on OK. It's not quite in the right place, so I'm going to drag it down using the move tool there. And I think I might need to just go back in and take it down from 90 to maybe 80 point. And then back to the move tool and move it into place. So 80 was still too big. So back again, and 72 was probably right in the first place. Move tool, and there we have Hulk like Facebook. And maybe just for a final effect, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, if I open up my layers here, I've got the FX tool here. So I'm going to click on FX, and I'm going to give it an outer glow. And the outer glow at the moment is this yellowish colour, and I'm going to make it a really vibrant green, something like that. And I'm going to spread it a little bit and make the size of it quite a bit bigger, and make the opacity a bit stronger as well. And there we have it. A few adjustments there in terms of things that we can do. But Hulk like Facebook with the Hulk pressing on the button.